It's startup season, it's rookie season, so why not combine the two? Stick around as we dive into a 12-round SuperFlex Dynasty Startup with rookies thrown in to see where they're going. Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Sanctuary. That is right, we are going to be walking through a live Dynasty Startup. I've got 11 fantastic volunteers in the live draft room. We're going to be walking through the draft as we go. This is going to be a 12-team Superflex startup. We're going third round reversal, and yes, rookies are included. Let's kick it off. We're going to see where some of these rookies go. I'm going to be drafting from the 101. The reason being that hopefully I can able to draft and talk as we go. I'm going to kick things off the 101. I'm going Josh Allen. He is still my QB1. I just think that incredible production over the last 3 seasons, I expect it to continue over the coming years. And we're going to see, it's interesting, I think, Caleb Williams and that sort of rookie 101. I've seen it go as high as the 5th overall pick. I've seen it fall into the 2nd round. It feels like there's no real consensus where it drops at the moment, but it'll be interesting to see where we're going to go here. So to kick things off, we've got a couple of quarterbacks off the board: Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert at the 103. A little bit higher than kind of ADP and consensus, but I know there's definitely some Herbert stands. Will be interesting to see what that new Greg Roman offense does. At the 4, Anthony Richardson, 104. And then we've got Lamar Jackson at the 105. I mean, Lamar Jackson is my 102. So a little bit surprised to see him drop here to the 105, but no shocks that he goes to a Ravens fan, the 105. This is about the range that we're sort of starting to potentially see Caleb Williams. I think that there's potentially some arguments for him over some of the other young quarterbacks, in that tier with the Stroud and players like that who goes off the board just there. Jalen Hurts at the 107. A little bit surprised. It's interesting. We were having the conversation in the Discord chat this morning about how Jalen Hurts, he dropped down to QB7 in Keep Trade Cut and places like that, but was back up to the QB2 in DLF ADP this week. And I said that I think that was just an overreaction to the end of the season, and it fell back to normal. But here we are, Jalen Hurts fallen to the 107, and maybe the reaction, hasn't corrected itself. Caleb Williams off the board at the 201. Nice little turn there. Trevor Lawrence, Caleb Williams, 2 young superstar quarterbacks, hopefully to build your franchise around. I think it's interesting that the thing I find interesting is that at this point, you almost have the debate of, do you go rookies in the draft pool? Do you go kind of picks? I always prefer picks because I think so much can change. I think, we're projecting quarterbacks and players to go where they are, but actually, if suddenly their price plummets and things like that, it could really affect things. So I always prefer to have picks. We use kickers in most of my startups just to represent those picks, because I feel like then it gives you that little bit of maneuverability heading into the draft. I'm struggling to see the draft board here, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger on my screen. No huge surprises. Jordan Love, shock goes to Luke, the Packers fan. We've just done a startup with Luke, and I've managed to snipe him quite a few times with some Packers players, so I'm sure he enjoyed that. If you are drafting live, guys, and you're watching along, feel free to dive in the comments. I'll bring them up as we're going. A couple of running backs flying off the board here: Bijan, Breece Hall, Marvin Harrison as the second rookie off the board to Duke. Interesting pairing there with Richardson and Harrison. A little bit surprised to see Harrison go as the 102. I personally am kind of leaning Drake May there, especially in a startup where we're chasing that quarterback value. But look, it's hard to hate on Marvin Harrison. I think he's a phenomenal prospect. Luke in the chat saying you took Love 202 as well. Yes, I did. I did. I think, yeah, he's a fringe first round pick in startups right now. We've got Christian McCaffrey there just before the turn. I'm now up. I think for me, this is a toss up between two players. I'm either looking at Dak Prescott here, or I'm considering Drake May. I'm going to go Dak just because with the third round reversal, I don't want to be left holding the bag and lacking a second quarterback. So I'll grab that second quarterback here and see what falls to me at the back end of the third round. If you are watching this, congratulations, you're one of our subscribers. We are closing in, as Tom said, on 1,700. So help us get there. If you know a friend, if you know you've got a second account, hit that subscribe button. Let's creep up towards that 1,700 number and help share the good word. We've got Drake May goes next as the third QB. That's an interesting team. Lawrence, Caleb, Drake May. I was asked the other day about kind of how I build in startups, and I think it's a difficult question because I basically try to always draft the best player available. I'm not going in it with any predetermined strategy. If a player falls and it kind of ruins a build, this isn't best ball. I'm not necessarily worried about rostering a set number of players or rostering a set type of player, whether that be age, production, anything like that. You know, we can see there Cam starting his roster with 3 young superstar quarterbacks. The old adage, quarterbacks are at their most expensive in a startup. So I would much rather and be happy to grab the value of best player available, knowing that we've still got 7 months before a down is played. I'd back Cam to be able to potentially trade one of those quarterbacks if he feels the need. If not, you know, he can just keep those 3 superstars. The chances are one of Caleb Williams and Drake May is going to be a superstar. The chances are one of them is probably going to bust. So he's given himself 2 bites at the cherry there. Yes, it potentially limits his kind of options moving forward, but if you hit on a superstar quarterback, we all know how valuable they can be in startups. So we're coming back around here to the my pick in the third round. No huge surprises. Malik Neighbors goes 303 ahead of Jaden Daniels. That's certainly how I've got it ranked at the moment. I know some people are attacking the upside, shall we say, of Jaden Daniels, but I quite like that start for Gary. 3 superstar receivers in Chase, St. Brown, and Malik Neighbors. We're coming back to me here. Now, this is where I'm. I guess do I preach what I've just been talking? The best players available for me right now are all quarterbacks. I've got Jared Goff, Bryce Young, Deshaun Watson, Michael Pittman still available. I think I am going to go Michael Pittman here and just try and start to build out that young wide receiver core. I'm going to pair him with DJ Moore and trust that I know that some of those quarterbacks I'm higher than consensus. I think with Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, I can potentially add a third in the next sort of 2 or 3 rounds and kind of build out that quarterback room. We begin to see some of the position players start flying off the board. Jonathan Taylor, Brandon Ayuk. It's really interesting, I find, in these startups where you kind of have this elite thirst for quarterbacks early, and then there's it hits this lull period in this 4th to kind of 7th round of people leaving the quarterbacks, starting to attack some of those positions. Let's build up our young wide receivers. Let's attack the running back position. Maybe grab an elite tight end. And it almost is that sort of, you start to play chicken with teams. Do I build around a young team and leave it out there and maybe risk missing out on quarterback? Or do I just slightly reach, maybe grab one of these guys a little bit earlier than they should probably go? But then I've got my quarterback, and I do think it'll be interesting to watch, you know, the teams that don't have those second quarterbacks, or indeed a team like Gary who's got his 3 wide receivers over here picking from the 10 spot. Is he going to be able to still compete with some quarterbacks, or is he going to have to find himself reaching? So very interested to see what Gary's going to do here at the next pick. Does he reach and grab a guy like Bryce Young, maybe Deshaun Watson, or does he continue to punt the position and just build out value at the rest of his roster? He does go quarterback. I think that's good value for Deshaun Watson. I think, we were talking this time last year, he was a kind of second round pick. Yes, okay, he had a horrendous season, but the hope is that with an off season, the Browns are committed to him. He's not going anywhere for at least the next 2 years. So hopefully we can continue to see some growth from Deshaun Watson as he works back from, let's just say, his time away. So Cam now up. We've obviously got the 3 young quarterbacks that he has selected so far. Be interested to see where he's going to go here. Does he go best player available, potentially grab another quarterback? We're getting close to a timeout. He goes wide receivers. Is that Stephon Diggs? And DK Metcalf. So building out that wide receiver room. It is interesting to see. I think this is potentially around the range. We've seen obviously the 2 young tight ends come off the board in Laporta and McBride. I'm a little bit intrigued to see if we're reaching the range of maybe Brock Bowers. He's gone a little bit quiet on the rookie front. We've seen those elite 5 go. Rome Odunze goes, the 6th player off the board. Luke building a very nice young wide receiver core there. CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Rome Odunze as your wide receiver 4. That's never a bad position to be. An interesting point when we're talking about those young tight ends, Sam Laporte or Trey McBride. I'm finding myself much lower than consensus on those kind of young tight ends. I think that in a established league, I'm kind of about the right value, but in a startup, for me, Porter, McBride, yes, they're the kind of tight end 1, tight end 2. Yes, they're young, they've got huge amounts of potential. But I think that what people are forgetting is that when Travis Kelce was at his pomp, when he was producing, 7, 8 points per game over replacement, he was almost like having an extra player on your roster. You're not getting that with Laporta and McBride. Last year, they were about 3, 4 points higher than replacement level. Yes, that's great. We're chasing that. But just because they're the tight end 1, I don't think they're in that Kelsey level cheat code at the position. So for me in a startup, I think that 3rd round pick where Laporte's gone, that's too rich for me. I'm probably around this sort of range where I'm thinking, yeah, McBride, Bowers, players like that. I say Bowers just as he goes off the board there with the 509. Interesting. That's now 7 rookies off the board. For me, I'm going to continue building out my young wide receiver room. I'm going to go Rashee Rice and I'm going to go Jaden Reed here. I think that the way I'm always looking to build in startups, it's not rocket science. I'm pretty sure anyone will tell you the same. Is I'm looking to build around young wide receivers, quarterbacks, and then just attack running back with volume. If anyone's been a startup with me, I'm normally looking to take anywhere between 10 and 15 running backs, and it gets to a point where that's basically all I take. So if you are watching live, feel free to jump in the comments. I'll be talking through any questions, any comments that we get as we go. There's a few people drafting that are in the chat right now, so feel free to dive along. Tim Torch taking his 4th quarterback there. That's the next rookie, JJ McCarthy. I think I described him in the rookie guide, which will be out in a couple of weeks now. He's the Rorschach test for me this year. I think that basically you go into JJ McCarthy film and you see what you want to see. If you want to see a incredibly toolsy quarterback that has oodles of potential and could be a potential superstar, that's what you're going to see. If you want to go in and see a guy that, didn't really attempt many passes, didn't really have much asked of him, shall we say, in terms of the NFL, in terms of college, because of the way that team was set up. I think that's what you'll also see. So it's a case of the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Yes, there is oodles of potential. Yes, he could be an absolute superstar, but It's a big question mark, and I think that it's going to be fascinating to see what the NFL makes of him, because he's almost this year's Will Levis, where we're hearing about him potentially being talked up as, could he get into the top 5, the top 10. It equally wouldn't shock me if he fell through to down day 2, and we see that sort of potential green room slide. Troy Franklin also went off the board. If we're talking about rookies, he went 605. It may be slightly hot takey, but yeah, he's in the conversation for me for wide receiver 3. The more I watch, the more I enjoy. I think there's a knock on him that he's a body catcher, yes, but I think he's showed enough that he can catch with his hands away from his frame. And quite frankly, a guy that has his level of speed, his level of route running ability, I think could be a weapon at the next level at all 3 phases of the field. So yeah, I'm very excited about Troy Franklin and what he can be. Another rookie off the board there, Brian Thomas with the 609. I'm a little bit concerned about Brian Thomas. I see a lot of Martavis Bryant. I think he's a big bodied, he is rapid. He is a phenomenal deep threat, but I'm a little bit concerned that he could be a slight one-trick pony as such. But yeah, interesting. And Luke grabs his second quarterback there, so building it out with Will Levis. Will Levis seems to be a player that I'm a bit higher than consensus on, along with Bryce Young. Those two sort of sophomore quarterbacks seem to be guys that I'm higher than consensus, and the community seems out on. I think that, let's be honest, they've got the potential. Yes, rookie seasons are important for quarterbacks, but we've seen plenty of guys that have had bad rookie seasons then come back and be superstars. Look at Jared Goff. His rookie season was fantastic. He's now a solid, reliable, above average NFL starter. If you are watching live, Tom's in the chat. He's doing solid work. Hit that like button, hit that thumbs up. It helps us spread the words and helps bring more people in to see what we're doing here. A couple of tight ends fly off the board. Dalton Kincaid, George Kittle. That's interesting. It feels like a lot of tight ends off the board. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tight ends, and we're already in the 7th round. Xavier Worthy goes off the board. I seem to be incredibly high on Xavier Worthy versus consensus. He's my wide receiver 5 as we speak. I think that I've seen him as low as wide receiver 15. I've seen him as high as wide receiver 4. I think the age-adjusted production is phenomenal. The athleticism is phenomenal. Yes, I've got some questions about his hands. There's some drops issues. But I think a guy that moves as he does, that has the route running ability that he does, I think he's going to get the opportunity to be a weapon in the NFL. And I think that he's more than just a deep threat. I've seen some people compare him to Marvin Mims. I think he's got a little bit more route running now to him than a guy like Marvin Mims. Cole Pitts in the 7th round. I think it's fascinating for me, Cole Pitts, because we know that he was injured. We know that, we had some concerns about the offensive play caller. Those have now gone, and yet his value continues to plummet. So could be that he is an absolute steal here. I'm up at the 7-12, so let's have a look. Best available players, I've got Rashad White, Matthew Stafford, Amari Cooper. I'm going to go and grab a running back. It's not something I particularly like doing at this point in the draft, but I think Rashad White is good value. And then I'm going to go and grab a win now quarterback in Matthew Stafford. I think that the concerns about him potentially retiring are overplayed. I think he is a borderline QB1 when he's healthy, and I see no reason why he's not going to be healthy over the next few years. And I think that he could be fantastic moving forward. We missed there. Michael Penix went 709. I think I like what I see from him, but there are serious concerns. Anytime a quarterback has, 6 years in college, 4 season-ending injuries, doesn't really create out of structure, almost needs everything to be put on a plate for him to produce. I'm a little bit concerned. I also don't know how the NFL are going to feel about him. I do wonder if he's going to be in that kind of day 2, almost Desmond Ridder type, where he's going to get an opportunity to start, but we're not committed to him long term. It could be he has a short leash and it gets pulled. I don't know if there's enough talent and enough to warrant him being a first round pick. And if he does fall into that day two, it just makes me nervous. Ramondre Stevenson there in the eighth. I'll be honest, I'm a huge Ramondre Stevenson believer. I think the production he had in his sophomore year, I see no reason why he's not going to produce again this year. It just feels like he's criminally underrated at the moment. Let's start looking at some teams. So there's a lot of wide receivers going. We've got a two tight end build going here with Dylan Moon, who's grabbed Laporta and Pitts. Is there anyone that's lacking at quarterback? So we've got Professor Fox here, who's got one quarterback, obviously, elite in Patrick Mahomes. Everybody else has got at least two. Be interesting to see if teams are starting to build out those third quarterbacks, or whether Professor Fox is going to continue going with that one quarterback build and trying to find some gems later in the draft. Luke is up. He's built around those young wide receivers. He goes again with another young wide receiver, of course, big Packers fan, so has to draft another Packers wide receivers. Cam here, taking Terry McLaurin, building out that aging wide receiver room, but elite potential certainly over the next couple of years with Diggs, Metcalf, Adams, McLaurin, Kittle. Quite interesting balance with the young quarterbacks and the slightly older wide receivers. Will be interesting to see how the rest of that team plans out. We are going to be going 12 rounds here, so 4 more rounds to go. The idea is we're just looking to give you a little bit of a taster to see where those elite guys are going to be going. If you want potential startups, if you want to get involved in some Dynasty startups, you can join. There's a little join button just below. We're posting new startups. We've got new leagues that I'm commissioning. We'll be having a couple more after the combine. And of course, the rookie guide is coming out less than 2 weeks today. I've just submitted to Tom all the write-ups. We've got 80 player profiles. There is going to be all my rookie model, plus positional ranks, SuperFlex, 1QB, tight end premium, everything you could ever need from a rookie guide. It's going to be over 200 pages in that post-draft edition. We're going to have the riskometer. We're talking about landing spot analysis. It is insane how much content we've put in there this year, and it is well worth the membership alone. I can guarantee that. So we're starting to see some running backs coming off the board now. DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris, Bucky Irving off the board. He's my running back one. I think if you're looking for upside, Bucky Irving has got that in spades. I'm very interested to see how he does at the combine, because we know he's quick, we know he's agile, and he should be a decent athletic producer. Jonathan Brooks, I missed him go there at the 8-10. I think if it wasn't for that knee injury, we'd be talking about him as the RB1 in this class. He's gone as the RB1 right here, but I do think that we could see him fall in rookie drafts, as people aren't really wanting to spend elite rookie capital on a guy that's not going to be competing for their team now. So I'm up here just looking at my best available. I've got Deontay Johnson, Evan Ingram, David Njoku, Keenan Allen. I am going to hit that Deontay Johnson button. I recently did a startup with Matt Thornton, formerly of the Wild Card, and he said, "Is there any draft where Richard doesn't leave without Deontay?" And it feels correct that I draft Deontay right now. I'm struggling here, I'll be honest. Let's go Evan Ingram. Let's go with that elite tight end. I put out today every month I look at basically ADP versus my ranks and who I'm higher, who I'm lower on. Evan Ingram's my tight end 5. I am 7 spots higher than consensus because he's the tight end 12 in terms of ADP. I don't get it. This is a guy that's under contract, tied to an elite QB, and yet he's not getting the love. He was obscene volumes that he saw last year, and he was so reliable. I think it was I can't remember if it's 80 or 90% of weeks he finishes a top 12 receiver. He's just got that really nice floor, 4 or 5 catches every week. He's not burning you, and if he catches a touchdown, then it's a huge upside. So yeah, I think Evan Ingram is definitely being slept on. Are there any picks that are surprising you? Let us know in the comments below. Let us know your favorite pick. Who's the rookie that surprised you where they've gone? We've just seen another rookie quarterback off the board there, Spencer Rattler. The hype at the moment is building. It feels like the NFL, we get all these draft nicks and analysts saying, oh, the NFL is higher than the media. Well, I don't know who's necessarily deciding that, because a lot of what the media gets is directly from the NFL. But yeah, 10th round pick for Spencer Rattler. That could look phenomenal in a couple of months if he does sneak into that back end of the first round, maybe early day 2. But if he ends up being a day 3 pick, that could be a very expensive pick at this point in the draft. Malachi Corley then goes in the 10th round. A guy I really love. I think phenomenal with the ball in his hand. Really nice production in terms of my rookie model. He does definitely flash, and just a guy I really enjoy watching the tape of. I think there's a lot to like there, definitely. More tight ends going off the board. I don't know if this is just really tight and thirsty draft, but this feels incredibly tight and heavy. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 tight ends through 11 rounds. That does feel very thirsty. I do think tight end is fascinating at the moment, because I think there's probably about 16, 17 guys that you could probably rank almost the same. Outside, for me, the top 5, it is a big plateau of, yeah, you've got guys like Travis Kelce who could potentially give you elite production, but probably only 1 year, compared with guys like David Njoku, Jake Ferguson, Dalton Schultz, Dallas Goedert, who's just gone there, who feel slightly safer, slightly solid, but don't give you the upside. And I struggle to differentiate between those guys, and it does feel like maybe you just kind of wait on tight end and grab a couple later on. A couple more rookies flying off the board here. We've got Braylon Allen, Blake Corum, Lad McConkey goes, AD Mitchell. It's really fascinating at this time of year, because you do see a lot of these rookies where they get hyped, they become, community favorites, like a Lad McConkey seems to be at the moment, and then they potentially fall down in rookie drafts and in the NFL draft, and then suddenly they get cast aside and forgotten. I am going to go with the running back position, though. I'm going to take Jaylen Warren here. I'm delighted to get him 2.5 rounds after Najee Harris. I'd prefer Jaylen Warren over Najee straight up, given that the way their contracts play out. So that's what I'm going to go there. And then I'm going to go and grab my running back 4 in terms of rookie rounds, Audric Estime. I think he has got some really interesting potential in terms of that size, weight, speed. Again, I feel like I'm saying this to all these rookie running backs. I'm intrigued to see how he does at the combine. I'm intrigued to see what the NFL does make of him. But that's my draft now finished. I said we were going 12 rounds, so drafting from the 1 spot. Got Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford. That feels like a really elite 3 kind of in that quarterback room. I've got some decent upside, some young stud wide receivers in Michael Pittman, DJ Moore, Rashee Rice, Jalen Reed, and then Deontay Johnson to round that out. And then running back, it feels a little bit light, Rashad White, Jaylen Warren, Audric Estime. No one there really to kind of hang my hat on and say that's my stud, but that's how we always build the running back room. I'd be attacking that with volume over the next few rounds and looking to, potentially find a diamond in the rough. And, all it takes is someone that can, one injury away and is the next Kyron Williams or something like that. And then to round it out, we got Evan Ingram as the tight end. So that is my draft. Let's have a look at the draft board. Who's your favorite pick? Any rookie landing spots that surprise you in terms of their capital? Cam is in the chat saying, to be honest, my Kittle pick was a classic panic. He'd have been happy to sit with Ferguson until now. Yeah, it is tough. It's not fun whenever you're at this point, a dynasty starter with 30 seconds on the clock, isn't not exactly the norm. And that concludes us. So if you've made it this far into the show and you've not hit the like, you've not hit the subscribe, help us out. Do that right now and jump in those comments. Let me know, who do you think has the best team? Prizes for whoever gets it. I'll give you a pat on the back. If you've not hit the join button, we have got the rookie guide coming out in 2 weeks. You get to join the Discord. There is all of my survival kit, my rankings, Dynasty trade values, trade calculator, and of course, you've got all of Tom's best ball and DFS stuff. Hope you enjoyed the Dynasty Startup. That was certainly fun, certainly fast paced, and we'll be back very soon with more content.